Alrighty, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to record a video for the Learn Together. And then I'm going to release this week, which, you may not know until you get here, or you will not know based on the way the course is set up. So, but then I'm going to come back later and I'll put this content in there and do a video for this closer to the actual date. Because at this point, I'm working, you all are working in week 2 and I'm working in week 4. So I like to have a little more time to cover some of the topics. But as I said, I will cover that code along. So today I finished up doing my code for the Learn Together for week 4. And probably not a big surprise based on what we learned in the Udemy course about objects, um, how to set them up, how to reference them, and then methods, right? So methods are really nothing more than functions inside of objects. Now later we're going to learn something called classes, which is taking this idea of objects and methods to a whole new level. But this is a good stepping stone, in my opinion. So here's what you need to do, not a surprise either, is take your code from week 3, and create a new folder, week 4. Make sure your files are named. And this is key because I saw, at least in the submission for week 2, a couple of you use something different for your JS and JS file. And I just want to get you into the standard of using app.js. And here's the other thing is use constant instead, not install. I'll fix that, of let where it makes sense in your code. And this is really a check to see how well you understand when to use constant, when to use let. And one thing you can do is just change it and see if it breaks your code. But it's also better to actually understand where and when to use it. And we got that coverage of concepts this week. And now here's the biggie, right? Is to refactor your code into one or maybe more, maybe one or more objects is what that is supposed to be. And I did mine in one object, and I would say I think it's a good test or a good challenge to take all the code that you have. And then again, we're still working on the daily decision. We'll probably have it for week 5, and then after the dev work, we'll do something different. But for now, matter of fact, let me just pause and fix those because it's bugging me. Okay, that feels better. So, one or more objects, okay, with methods. So basically, you're taking all your methods. Now, you could also break this into one or more objects. So you might have one object that handles all the methods and one that handles the data. The key there would be understanding how to reference those different objects, which is totally doable given what we've learned. But most of your code needs to be in an object method format, okay? Now add some functionality and or information tracking to your code base. Like this one, after I wrote it, I went to do it and I'm like, what could I add? And I thought, well, there's actually a couple things I could add. One is that I could use the object variable inside to track the number of times I've run the code, which is good. Just run the every day, my daily determination of task. I did that. I also added a list and message, which is what I was using for the list of things I'm going to do in the message as well, to the not global, but inside of the object. Okay. And then continue to output to the page and minimize global variables declared. So really try to have all that work happen inside of your object method configuration. Push your code to GitHub, reply with your Git hack link, and write something about your experience of doing this. And then, this is how I grade it. And then remember, and I notice a few of you have done this already, which is great, but if you want to not have to do the replies, then you have to post 2 days early, which would mean by the time I look at work on Wednesday morning. And this is now, we're moving into February. Crazy, right? I know, nuts. Okay, so I'm not going to show you my code because I will do what I've done before, which is I will record a short video, but do want to show you kind of just the configuration. So what I ended up doing is I created a constant called morning task, which is an object. And then I had number of days. A number of days is just the number of times I've run it, which is, so that was kind of simple way of adding some tracking, not necessarily functionality. But then all of my functions that I had before, I made methods on this object. So again, you could separate this into one object for your data and one object for your functions, right? And then I did include the display on page, so I had everything kind of nicely wrapped up in this object. And then here at the bottom, you can see where I make the call to the function. So morning task or morning list is the object, and then inside of there is a function, set up data. So the function itself only had to change to the extent that I needed to reference um, the functions inside of the object, meaning the methods. So I didn't have to change a lot of that, but I did just need to make it work. So then I pass in all of my pieces of data. So then this is just me running it 5 times. Okay. So again, I'll go a little more depth after you post your code as an example. So I hope this at least gives you a visual on what the output here could look like. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.